Hello everyone, welcome back again. I'm Raj, and in this video I'm going to talk about Cloud Firestore, how we can implement Cloud Firestore in web. So what is a Cloud Firestore? So Cloud Firestore is a NoSQL database. It provides real-time and offline support. Also, you can build truly serverless application with the help of Cloud Firestore. As the Cloud Firestore is NoSQL database, so we have a collections. So in a collections, we can have a multiple documents, and each document can have a data in terms of fields like array, name, these kind of fields we can add. In Cloud Firestore, you can add the data with the help of add method. In the add method, you have to pass JavaScript object and you have to define a collections. So let's say I define a collections name is data, and then I need to call add method, and inside I have to pass JavaScript object. So basically add method automatically create a documents inside a collections, and it will generate automatically document ID. But if you want to create your document ID, your personalized or customized document ID, then you can use set method. Just before calling a set method, you need to define a document where you can define a document ID. And the third one, you can use get method for getting a data, or if you want to read a data from Cloud Firestore, you can use it. And the fourth one, you can trigger on snapshot method for reading a data in real time. And the fifth one, you can also update and delete the document. Just you need to pass document ID. And so this is the simplest example. I have created a database reference firebase.firestore, and I'm just showing how we can add a data. So my database reference is db.collections name, where my collections name is users, and I wanted to add a data. So there is a method, add method. Inside I have passed JavaScript object where the field is name and uh, email. And this is a JavaScript promises, so it will return a callback. So as a callback, you will get a document, and you can print the document with document.id. You can secure a database with Cloud Firestore security rules. So like you can define a security rule for each collections, uh, like admin can delete or update the data, or user can or a viewer can read or create the data. So you can define the database rules in Cloud Firestore rule. Now I'm going to show you how we can implement Cloud Firestore. First, we will create a new project name. And then right now I'm not using Google Analytics. My project is ready. So this is my project dashboard. So I'll go to the web and create a new application for web. And then register application. Here I'll just copy the SDK file. So this is my VS Code editor. I've created an index.html file. Here I will create a normal HTML5 syntax, and then we'll paste it here. So now I will add Cloud Firestore SDK. So I'll go to the documentation, and there is options available libraries. We'll open the CDN, and just I'll copy the Cloud Firestore CDN, and I will paste here. I will paste. Now we will create a div element. Inside we'll create input box for adding a data in Cloud Firestore. So this box is for the placeholder. Will write enter the name, and then we'll assign a ID. So let's say my ID is name, and there is a button for adding a data, and then we need to define ID. So add data btn. So this is my button ID. Now after this step, we'll define an action listener for this button. Document.getElement by ID. Here I will pass the ID and define call the actions listener for this button, and then we'll define a function. We'll call a function. So my function's name is add data. Okay, so there is a functions we need to call add data name functions, and that's it. So now when the user will input add a name and then click on add data, so we need to get the details of or value of name. So we will use let name is equal to document dot get element by id. Here I will pass the name as a id, and then we want value, and that's it. So now I will create a JavaScript object. So let's say my JavaScript object is obj, and for creating an object we need to use curly braces. And right now I'm using as a username as a field, and I'll assign username value is key value property. So so now I'm going to show you how we can write a query for adding a data. So right now I'm using Firebase. Inside Firebase we have Firestore as a method, and then we need to define a collections. So here my collections name is user. You can use any name, and then we need to call add method. Here I have to pass JavaScript object, and that's it. Then we will get a document. So we will print this document with the help of console.log in console window, where document ID we can print doc.id, and similarly we can, and if there is any issue we can handle in catch block console.log e. Okay, so this is a basic query. Like if you want to add a data in Cloud Firestore where the collections name is users. So this is the simplest query we can use. So now I will create a database first in my project dashboard. So I'll go to the project dashboard and then click to the console and then Cloud Firestore. Here I will create a database. I'll select the test mode because I want to implement all the queries, and then you can select a reason, anything. Okay, so this is my database. Here you have to define a collections. Inside these collections we have to create a document. So now I will open the file in browser, and then now we will enter the name, let's say TechFerment, and then add data. So yeah, so data is successfully added. This is a document ID, and we'll check it. And yeah, so there is a collections user, and then we have a document ID which is randomly assigned, and there is a field username is equal to TechFerment. So let's say I will add TechFerment1. So yeah, so new ID is generated. So we have two documents. First one is TechFerment and second one is for TechFerment1. So similarly, we can add a data like two, and this is new ID. And yeah, here we have three document. This one is TechFerment, this one is TechFerment 2, and this one is TechFerment 3. So this is the way we can add a data in Cloud Firestore. Now I will implement how we can read the data. So we can create a div element for the result where we can add the data. So we'll add div element and assign a ID res. So there is a method you can use, get method, for reading a data. So right now I'm going to show you how we can read the data in real time. So I will add a logic. So first we'll write a Firebase, and then we are using Firestore, and then we need to define a collections. So from which collections we wanted to read the data. So this is my collections. For reading a data in real time, you can use on snapshot method. Here it will return a callback as a collection list of documents, and you can print the list of documents with the help of for each method. And here you will get the document, and then you can print the document and document ID. So first we will print doc dot id. It will return a document ID, and also we can print the document data, so with the help of data method. And that's it. Now this is the data we are getting, and we are printing that data in console window. I will reload this page, and here I'm getting data. So first we have document ID, and then we have a JavaScript object. So username, the value. So this is a real-time database. So let's say I'm adding a data 3. So again, I got a data of this one. So we can print the data in UI part. Now we will print that data in HTML part. So first we will create a document, and then we'll create a document.id where we pass result as a ID, and then we'll use inner HTML method, and then we need to concatenate and the logic, and then we'll use multi-line string where we can use as a p tag, and we can print the document data. So dollar curly braces, and then we'll add doc dot data here dot username. That's it. But it will concatenate the logic. So we will add this line before this one, and before concatenate it will we have to add null empty inner HTML logic, and that's it. So we'll go to the browser, and I will reload this page. So now we have the document value, like we have tech ferment 3. This is the logic. So we'll add tech ferment 4 and then add. So data is added, and then we'll add 5. So added 5, and this is a real-time database. So let's say I wanted to update tech ferment 1. So we will add tech ferment 1 to 2 and update, and TechFerment 122 without reloading the page. It will automatically real-time syncing with the database. So this is one of the best thing about Cloud Firestore. And now I'm going to show you how we can delete the data. Let's say here I'm creating a button, add delete. And then here we can use on click method, which is defined in JavaScript, and then we define a method or a functions remove. Here we can pass the document ID, so we can print the document ID dollar symbol curly braces and doc.id. Now we need to define this method, so we can define this method in functions. Here it will get the ID. Now we want to write a logic. So first we are using Firebase, and then we are using Firestore, and then we need to define a collections. So we'll add a collections as a users, and from which document we wanted to remove this data, like which document we want to remove, and then we need to call delete as a method. So this will return, this is a JavaScript promises. You can call as a promises with then glitch block, and then we can use alerts as a thing, like you can check it like data removed, and that's it. And you can use catch block if there is any issue. So before this one, you can also add a prompt, like if you want to like check there will, if you want to remove yes or no. So you can use it if and else block, like we have a confirm block. We can call a confirm method here, like are you sure you wanted to delete. If it is written true, so we will add this logic in this particular block, and that's it. So I will save and then go to the browser. I will reload this page. So we have a element. So first, let's suppose I wanted to delete TechFerment 5. So yeah, so are you sure? Yes, if I click on OK, so data is removed. So we have right now this, and we can also remove this one. Data is removed. We can do that. You can also use update method if you want to update the data. You can use this query for updating a data. So first we have to write Firebase, and then we are using Firestore as a method. Then we need to define a collections. Here you have to pass as a collections name as a users, and then you have to define a doc ID, from which doc ID you wanted to update. So you can add a doc ID, then you need to call update as a method, and then here you have to pass JavaScript object updated, and then you can call JavaScript promises. So you can check it, it will return a JavaScript document. So we can print or add console.log updated, or alert we can add it, and we can use catch block for catching an error. Okay, so this is my username, and I wanted to update username with Rich Raj, but we need to define a document ID. So for example, I'll go to the browser. So now I wanted to update TechFerment 4 to Rich Raj. So this is my document ID. I will copy this document ID. I will paste it here, and so this is a query, like we need to define a document ID, then we need to pass the updated JavaScript object, and it will update. So we can call this by we can create a functions update data, format document, and then we can call uh, the update method or update data functions by here, and that's it. And I will save. So Now I will reload this page. So it shows data is updated, and within a real time you will get the updated data. Rich Raj. This is how you can implement Cloud Firestore in web. You can also call get method for reading a data. You can go to the documentation. So if you have any query questions, you can comment your query below, and I would love to answer them very soon. And this is our social media presence. You can reach us if you have any questions or a doubt. And so thank you so much, and see you in the next video.